with the sheaf. With that said, all praise, glory, and honor to Yah, our Father, and His only begotten Son, Jehoshua the Messiah, the Nazarite that died for our sins, also honorably known as Yehoshua, Yahusha, Yahawashai, Yeshaya, Yahshua, Yeshua, Joshua, the Messiah, Hamashiach, Jesus, the Christ. All glory to the Father and Son.
Praise Jah.
So hopefully you've been following this lesson, and if you haven't, please be sure to go watch part 1 of this series about everything true about the Passover. The links for part 1 and 2 are in the description, where we go over these things and we build a foundation. And here we are on part 3, again, understanding the true order and meaning of the preparation day. Now, Brother David, I don't know if you know how much, and shalom to you, Sister Carice, and shalom to all who are joining us, Auntie Elma, Mama Greg, if you're there, and I don't know who's out there, but shalom to the Zion Assembly. Give a shout out if you want me to hail you. Yeah, when it comes to this topic, it's believe it or not, a lot of the understanding of what's going on comes down to the understanding of this one word in particular, preparation, referring to the preparation day. And you'd be surprised that this topic is very vast. And when we're talking about the vastness of this topic, about what day was the Messiah crucified on, and everybody seems to have a consensus on what day he resurrected as well. So, we're going to be presenting the best information we can from the Holy Scriptures with understanding, getting into a few definitions and whatnot. And I have to say that this topic in the New Testament, whether using the King James or other translations, they've really played around with this topic. It's like, the puzzle is really shifty. They've played around with words, hid words. It looks like they added words. And when we get into this understanding, as it carries over into next Sabbath, sorry, I heard an echo. Next Sabbath, you'll get a little bit of a good insight on what's going on here. So I'm going to try to, at the same time, move at a good pace and keep it, keep the interest moving. And at the same time, it's very complex. So if you do have any questions or comments on this topic, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll try to address them.
All right.
So we're dealing with these things, to the law and testimony, it's very important. And we're going to be dealing with, as we do True Almanack, the true Passover, death, and resurrection timeframes have to be based upon, the Holy Scriptures, the True Scriptural Almanack. And that Almanack definitely is the one that we present. And, it comes from the law, from the words of the Most High and the prophets. And this is supposed to be the standard that we're supposed to go by. And I think once we set a good foundation of knowing when the Passover is, how it has to occur, when it, the operations of it go on, and we've talked about that, but when we get into details about the Messiah, you'll see how it fits in, because, again, the controversies about his death, when he was crucified and whatnot, it is very, very vast. Go ahead, brother.
Isaiah 8, verse 16. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples, to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Matthew 3, verse 15. And Joshua answering said unto him, Suffer it to be so now, for thus it becometh us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he allowed him. Matthew 5, verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Revelation 12, verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Jah, and have the testimony of Joshua the Messiah.
So the importance here is just seeing a duality of the functions of how to, approach, at least, to get to understand and learn doctrine. We have the testimony, and the law amongst the disciples. And in verse 20, to the law and the testimony, again, these two things. We see that the Messiah said about him and John that he's came to fulfill all righteousness, right? And as
Mhm.
well, he came not to destroy, but to fulfill the law. And then in Revelation, again, we see these two things: the testimony and the law, the commandments of the Most High. So it's in this area that we want to make sure that we're having our studies. It's like it's the foundation approach to looking at studying these the scriptures and come to understandings. It has to kind of go with both. And although some things might not always be written in either at times, the Most High will guide us, and there'll be enough scriptures at least for us to get a clear understanding of what the Most High is intending to teach us, especially when it's regarding His holy days.
Mhm.
Go ahead, brother.
The Passover feast is the same unleavened bread feast of 7 days only, and not 8 days. The lamb sacrifice is at the end of the 14th and is eaten the night of the 15th, which is on the first day of the week. The first and seventh days of the week-long feast are holy convocations. The first day of the Passover feast always starts in the evening, starting on the first day of the week, and the seventh day of the Passover feast always ends at the end of the seventh day, the Sabbath. The wave sheaf offering is the day or morning after the seventh day of Passover, which is the seventh-day Sabbath. The sheaf is always waved on the first day of the weekly cycle.
So very plainly stated here, as you can see. By now you understand this. We're going to keep moving. Remembering that it's important to get these distinctions always. When you're talking about the Passover and you're reading it in the Old Covenant scriptures and the New Covenant scriptures, that if it's speaking about the sacrifice of the Passover, right here, or if it's dealing with the lamb, or it's dealing with the feast. They're all connected, but when understanding when the sacrifice is supposed to be taking place of the lamb, it's at the end of the 14th, but you're not having the feast during that time at all. You're eating the lamb during that night time. So by the time the fourth, it's going to be like almost 15 minutes, and let's even say 20 minutes, the longest for a sunset to be turning into evening. And you're going to have that lamb being slain at the end of the 14th, and then in the 15th it's going to be prepared, and everything else is going to be cooked, and then it'll be eaten. And it's
Mhm.
not something that is done very quickly that way.
Mhm.
So again, understanding that it's the end of the 14th. Many people try to keep it at the beginning of the 14th and wanted to include the 14th of Abib as a holy day of some sort. They'll say that this is a Passover feast, and they'll sacrifice the lamb right here. But I mean, if you're sacrificing the lamb right here, and then they're going to want to keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread, what is it that they're eating? Because that lamb is supposed to be eating in the same night. So they're not going to be keeping it for 24 hours and then going to have another Feast of Unleavened Bread starting a 7-day count here. It doesn't work like that. It works like this: the end of the 14th day, lambs slaughtered, it's eaten. We have the Passover night, and we have the Passover day. Again, nothing occurs on that 14th day, and it is a 7-day Sabbath. And when I say nothing occurs on it, I do mean that at the end of that day, and that means at its close. Again, the lamb is sacrificed that evening. The 15th day begins. It's the first day of the week. It's the first day of the Passover and Unleavened Bread Festival. It's the Prince's Preparation Day, and it's a High Holy Sabbath day. These are fundamentals. I'm emphasizing them again because it has a play. When we know these things and we go into the New Testament to read about the Messiah's Passover, because it's very puzzling for many people, this
Mhm.
helps to give us a good foundation and a table, a framework to move from. So the start of the evening, the lamb is prepared and it's eaten. Moses was called. The Israelites spoil the Egyptians. I've showed this before. They leave out by morning time, and that would be it. And during that time period, they're leaving. All of it is occurring during the 15th day of Abib. So again, lamb is slain. Mandam are eating up the lamb. It's prepared and eaten during this time. And in modern times, in the daytime, this is the convocation, and this would be the day that the Messiah died. He didn't die that night or at the end of the 14th, like people try to teach. We've shown this count. Again, the lamb is sacrificed at the end of the 14th, eaten on the 15th. The first day is holy. The seventh day is holy. It's 7 days of unleavened bread, going all the way through. After the seventh day of unleavened bread, which is also the 7 day Sabbath forever, is the waving of the sheaf, who comes directly after it, and it has to be on the first day of the week. The dates of it is the 14th at evening, you eat unleavened bread, to the 21st. And this is right here, as you can see, it says the first month, 14th day of the month at evening, right here, which is the beginning of the 15th, to the 1 and 20th day of the month at evening. So we have our 7 day count. Perfect. This is how it works. And so, seeing where we're going to be going with things as we move along, and it's going to take time. That's saying that the Messiah was crucified. He ate this Passover. He died and was crucified on this first day of Passover. All right, so let's get into these crucifixion and resurrection time frames. Go ahead, Brother Javid. These are the true understandings that you're going to be learning perfectly, and we're going to be proving with the Holy Scriptures. Go ahead.
Point 1. The Messiah was crucified on the first day of the week, which was the 15th day of the first month, which is called Abib, equivalent to February. Point 2. He was buried at the end of the 15th day at the evening. Point 3. He was resurrected 3 days later in the evening on the fourth day of the week. Point 4. The Messiah remained in the sepulchre alive until the end of the Passover feast, which is the 21st at evening after the 7-day Sabbath. Point 5. He came out of the sepulchre before the morning on the 22nd of Abib, which is the first day of the week and the day of the waving of the sheaf. Point 6. He was first seen on the morning of the sheaf and ascended to heaven in the presence of the Father and returned to earth the same morning. And point 7. It was on the 8th day from his death that he was first seen.
Okay. So right now, if people are trying to follow along, they're going to say what I'm saying is absurd. We know how to count 3 days and 3 nights. The sign of Jonah after 3 days, in the third day, on the third day, 72 hours. Yeah, we are agreeing on that. The Messiah was dead for 3 days and 3 nights, and he resurrected on that third day. Now, the consensus with many people is, and I'm going to try to show a video when we get into something else, a short one, is that, the Messiah resurrected on the first day of the week. That's when he came alive. And so many people have a different teaching, and we'll go into what they teach. But I know these are bold statements here, and you probably want to know how in the world are we going to prove this from the Holy Bible. Well, we're going to do it from the Torah, right, from the law, and we're going to use the New Testament. And with Jah's will, he'll give us all an understanding to strengthen us. I want the leaders and teachers to grow and search these things out, and students to search them out and learn. This is not about bashing, because you're not following the same almanac I have, or understand this Passover situation this way, because it's the Gentile translators that have been very evil in translating these books. And it doesn't matter what translation, we're not King James only, but we're King James first. I like to study from Geneva Bible, and I'm going to use all translations as much as possible to try to find, certain truths on doctrines. But, they played around in the Greek, and they played around with the Hebrew in their translations. And that's just the truth of the matter. And hopefully with Jah's, will, and with his understanding, we're going to be able to use the scriptures to expose the lies that are in the scriptures. I know that might not make sense, but that's what's going on, because the scriptures, when it comes to the resurrection and everything, are designed to make it look like, the Good Friday, Easter thing, or even, possible Wednesday or Thursday crucifixion. And that's what the whole world, believes. And I know that what we're teaching is going to say, no way. But again, when you have a foundation of Jah's Almanack and the Passover, things will start to become more clear.
That's right.
So we show very clearly, from the first day of creation, you can count day 1 to day 7. And from day 7, you go from day 8 to 14. And you go on and you see what's on here. And this is what we present as the first month of Bib, as it will always be. utilizing Genesis, utilizing Leviticus, utilizing Numbers and Exodus and various other scriptures, greatly to show how this works this way. And it also makes it more simple to understand. And that's just the thing. I think people want a more complex understanding and equinox this and point 0.5 a day in a lunar cycle here and there. But the simplicity of counting, it almost like it's too simple to be true. But that's what Jah was doing in the beginning. He just,
Mhm.
why did he say the first day, second day, seventh day, and all of those things to teach us how to count? And he counts. He loves to count and make cycles of sevens. So looking at this understanding of how we deal with the first month of Bib, whether you believe it's in February or not, even if you say you want to use March or April, all right. Well, if your year doesn't always start on the first day of the week, then there's going to be inaccuracy according to the scriptures, and it won't be compatible with Jah's word. So, in saying that, the lamb is sacrificed at the end of the 14th, which is right here, which is again the beginning of the 15th, and this would be the week here. Again, just showing that we're using this weekly cycle model. The first day of Passover is holy. The seventh day, the waving of the sheaf would be on the first day of the week as well, and it would be the day after this seventh Sabbath, working in complete perfection. And in all the counts, as we move through Bib, we'll completely show these things more and more. Continue, brother.
So 1, he died on the first day of the week. 2, he rose 3 days later upon the fourth day of the week at evening, in the middle of the week. Point 3, he came out of the sepulchre on the first day of the week. Point 4, he was first seen on the first day of the week in the morning. Point 5, he remained under the law of death for 7 days. Point 6, he was the prince that sacrificed during the 7 days of Passover for the people. Point 7, he is the sheaf that was lifted on the first day of the week.
Now, it may seem like it's just a reiteration of what we just read. No, but it's bringing an understanding again of more of his fulfillment. That was just showing again, the attachment to the Passover. But all of these things, and you know what, Brother Javid, Jazwell too, the fulfillment of the Nazarite vow too is something that, I've been looking into
Mhm.
also going perfectly hand in hand with this Passover week is that the Messiah came in is such a perfection of time, of synchronize all things coming in one. It's beautiful, and let's go. I want to continue. You have anything to say, Brother Javid, before we move
I
on?
think everything is moving smooth.
All right. Now, this is how Babylon has their things, one of the ways. And, I know that people have their different ways of Passover. And this could be one of the ways some people who utilize the Enoch calendar. And if they're utilizing the lunar calendar, it wouldn't matter. And so they would, say in a way that you have the 14th is the beginning of Passover, like I was saying. So they're going to say that's a feast. And then the 15th is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We prove that greatly, but as you can see, for the Passover, you're supposed to eat it with unleavened bread as well, and you're supposed to have the leaven out from the first day of the feast. So from here, it's got to be gone. And if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right after the bat, you have now 8 days when it's supposed to be 7 days of unleavened bread. And, it's just messing up the whole timing because everything starts from here. But for many people, they'll begin the feast of Passover or say that the Messiah was crucified when he was crucified. It was on the 15th. Now, let me tell you something about this understanding, first of all. When people are usually using this almanac, their Passover moves throughout the years on different days of the week. It's a really easy thing to go look at. I mean, just typing in the Jewish Passover, and that'll just give you an understanding if you're using a lunar cycle, whether you're using their crescent or whatever. But you know that throughout the years, their Passover and the beginning of the year falls on different days of the week, and they're gonna would say that, well, during this time of the Messiah, they have to work it out and figure it out and say, well, he had to be crucified on a Wednesday, or even try to work out a Thursday. Some will try to work it out, and again, we'll get to those things maybe next week or so. But they want it to be so that you like count backwards. You count backwards from the first day of the week, and you go Friday, you go Saturday, Friday, and Thursday. Then it's like, hey, when's we know how to count again. However, it's a great deception, as I'm saying. So they always got to try to make it work out that way. And again, with the Jazz Almanac, it's not going to, we know what day of the week it was for sure. We don't have to know because it would be the same Passover week all the time. The same Passover that Josiah kept, the same Passover that the Israelites first kept. It would be on the same first day of the week. It was the same 15th day. The lamb was slain at the end of the 7th day Sabbath. It's always the same. And it's because Jah, it doesn't change. He's set, he's fixed, and he has order to his things. He's not random. And even though he made the sun, moon, and stars in their cycles, they do not dictate holy days at all.
That's right.
So whether you have the Passover wrong, and then, like I'm saying, just kind of filling you in on people just understanding, they're going to look at it, as you can see, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're going to say the day of preparation is the day before the annual Sabbath. It's not the weekly Sabbath. All of that will be discussed. He was crucified about 9 a.m., certain true things there, but he'd be put into the grave at the end of the Wednesday, they would say, keeping 3 days and 3 nights, a night, day, night, day, night, day. And then the weekly Sabbath, he'll be coming out at night and being seen in the morning. And, because one thing we agree with, yes, he was seen on the first day of the week. But the thing is, people swear and say out of their mouth hardcore, and what they believe is that the Messiah resurrected on the first day of the week. And we're saying, no, he didn't. And so, that's the thing. And you're going to start to think about this is like, hey, yeah, well, okay. And there's some things in scripture that, like I say, I don't blame anybody for coming to that understanding. And you may already have some backed up if you're studying, but we're going to get to them. And, but I'm just showing you that I understand, the concept of the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and many people besides, certain Christians could agree that Friday till Sunday is, it's not 3 days and 3 nights, but they're going to say, oh, it was in the third day because they're going to count even half a day as a day. And so, I mean, it is what it is. You see, the 7 day possibilities of the death of the Messiah because it's only 7 days in a week. So we're going from Sunday, day 1, to Saturday, day 7 here. And this is Sunday and day 8, but meaning a beginning of a new week. And so you can have, where the C is, that's for the Wednesday. People who say that he was crucified on the Wednesday. So he was crucified on the Wednesday, and then at the end of Wednesday, he was put in the grave. So because it's yellow here, that means he spent 1 day, 2 day, 3 days in the grave. He came out at the end of Saturday, and then in the morning, the people saw him. Then if the person believes that he was crucified on the Thursday here, or the 5th day of the week, they're going to say, this is the first day, this is the first day, this is the second day, and they're going to say this is the third day, and he resurrected in it. So they don't care if it's actually 72 hours or 3 nights and 3 days. They might just do like 3 days and 2 nights kind of thing. And then obviously for many in Christianity, they keep Good Friday, and then they have their Easter Sunday. And if he was crucified on Friday and put into the grave on Friday, or any of these days there, we know it doesn't match up to 3 days, but they'll still say this day he crucified was day 1, this is day 2, and he resurrected on the Sunday. So it doesn't matter if it's a full 72 hours as long as it's within 3 calendar days. And that's how most of the world has it in a basic understanding. Now you can see we're on the opposite end of the thing. We're not even near the middle of the week in terms of the Messiah being crucified, but we're in the middle of the week where he's being resurrected. And again, this is big talk to try to prove this in the world to all the scholars of the world. For those who might just be brethren and sisters and stuff like that, all right, cool. But I can tell you, I do lots of research and study on this topic, and this is the thing been baffling man from this topic for hundreds of years, and still people coming to different things. But the truth, as we say, just like Jazz Almanac, the true gospel is being preached and coming up more in time. And I'm very thankful to Jah that the brothers and sisters who are with us, Brother Javid and the Zion Assembly, to be a part of this, because it's like a reverse thing. And that's why everything that we teach, a lot of people say it's backward. It doesn't even make no sense, which is, that's the truth. It won't make sense to what we've always been taught. And I'm not talking about secret hidden knowledge. We're using the scriptures. We're bringing out charts. It's not like, The Most High reveals things, but I'm not trying to say like, well, unless you have a special wisdom. Yes, the Most High has to guide us to truths, but the truth of the matter is, what we're sharing, these mysteries, it's being shared, and hopefully it's coming to light now, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. So I just want to make sure that you get a good understanding that we believe that he was crucified on the first day of the week, and at the end of that first day of the week, he was in the grave for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. At the end of the fourth day, like a Wednesday night, almost like where we are kind of now, he would have resurrected and he'd be still in the tomb. He didn't go anywhere. People, where did he go? He had to be in the tomb. And it might sound strange, like he had to be in the sepulcher. Like, that doesn't make no sense. He had to be there. So says our law and the Torah.
That's right.
Praise Jah. The
Praise
wisdom
God.
is going to be fantastic. But today we're not going to get to that. We're going to really get to that on the next week. But the foundation that we're going to set today is going to prepare it to make it much more digestible. All right, let's continue. This is what we're saying. First day of Passover, he's died, he's buried. 1, day 2, day 3 in the tomb. Day 4, day 5. He resurrects after day right here, but he's still in the tomb. And then he comes out at the end of the Sabbath, and he's seen by all the people on the waving of the sheaf. The waving of the sheaf, the timing of the Passover, everything works perfect when it comes to this understanding. So what we have to do is we have to bring some clarity to these two words: preparation, week, and Sabbath. Not these two words, but to these three words. Week and Sabbath are kind of the same word, but the understanding of preparation and Sabbath. And when we talk about this topic here, and we're going to probably not get to the Sabbath. If we do, we do. But I kind of made sure I don't think I didn't really want to get to it because preparation is important. Now we hear many people talk about the preparation day normally coming from I guess starting with 7 Day Adventists. I think those were the first people I used to hear with it, and then I heard that the Jewish people used it preparation. Then many Israelite groups and then many other Messianic type of Christian Messianic groups use it. And the preparation day has always been understood as being the day before the 7 Day Sabbath. So it's the day that you prepare and you do all your cleaning and all that, this and that, so that you're coming into the Sabbath, a nice holy day, keeping it cool. Now I'm all down for that. But I'm getting to the point is that it's just a thing that we do and it makes sense. But when you look into the scriptures regarding this preparation day, and how the heathen have tried to make the scriptures look like, yes, there is a day called the preparation day before the 7th day Sabbath, is deceptive and devious, very devious. So I'm not trying to say don't clean up your house and have a nice. I'm going to always do that too. Try to do my best, keep things tidy and all of that. But I know a lot of people big up prep day like it's some kind of special thing. It's nothing special. And even if it's talking about the children of Israel when they had to prepare manna, and on the evening they had to prepare twice as much, that twice as much was preparing food. I wasn't talking about preparing, keeping things closed and anything like that. So again, keeping things in context. Yeah, man, have your house clean and prepare for the Sabbath for yourself that way. But that's a tradition that we can hold on to, but it's not a scriptural fundamental. And because it's presented this way, it messes up the whole Passover situation. And that's why I'm putting emphasis on this. And this is why this is deep, because this one word preparation seems to be that people even admit is something to figure out here.
True.
So the two most important words to this understanding are preparation, which is parasukio, and Sabbath, which is Sabbaton. Go ahead, brother.
The word preparation, in the context of the Passover and unleavened bread feast, simply means the Passover day, or the first day of Passover. In other words, it was the first day of the feast of Passover that was prepared and celebrated. Preparation equals Passover day or the first day of Passover. The word Sabbath in the context of the Passover and unleavened bread feast means high Sabbath or Passover week or 7 days. Yes, it does also refer to the 7-day Sabbath, but depending on the context is the key to understanding.
So I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying here. When it's used this word preparation, I'm going to look at it. It only appears 6 times in the New Covenant scriptures, the New Testament. So it won't be hard for us to zero in on it, right? And let's just move. Look what I'm saying again. That it means Passover day, or you can even just say the word Passover, the first day of Passover, so on. Okay, so the first day of Passover is also known by these various names. Go ahead, brother.
The feast of Passover, the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the preparation day, or preparing the Passover feast. It's an annual high Sabbath day, and this high preparation day has nothing to do with the day before the 7-day Sabbath.
Okay, so this is the word preparation, right? As it is in the Strong's, it appears 6 times. It means a making ready, preparation, equipping, that which is prepared. It says in the New Testament, in the Jewish sense, the day of preparation. And it says the day on which the Jews made necessary preparation to celebrate a Sabbath or a feast. Now, first of all, just looking at the definition kind of carefully here, it doesn't say, when it says it's a preparation. Now, you see the way I use the word preparation when I was talking about how people use it? They call it prep day. And so they're preparing for the Sabbath. No, this is the day the day that they made that preparation. So when you're keeping the feast of Passover, you're going to see the scriptures. But I just want to say it to you is that it's the Passover in particular is one of those feasts that it's on that day when you start preparing for it. You don't prepare things beforehand and stuff like that and set up things and everything like that. The Passover don't work like that. That's how the Israelites do it. And that's very important to know. It's like, I could almost say like the preparation day could almost be like the first day of Tabernacles too. They're supposed to keep the day of Tabernacles and they're supposed to keep it. But that day they have to go out there and grab the branches and prepare their homes, right? Now, I'm just using it as an example to show you that it's in that day that they're preparing. This preparation, when it says it's a preparation, necessary preparation to celebrate a Sabbath or feast, it's like, some people in the world, they rent a hall and they're going to celebrate somebody's marriage or something, and it's for that day. And then they go in the morning and they start preparing the tables and the cooks cooking stuff. But the feast is on that day, that marriage. You get what I'm trying to say, brother?
Yes.
I'm trying to say it doesn't mean when they were preparing for the Sabbath. No, they were preparing for the Passover. They were preparing on the Passover.
Yes,
Now, in
understood.
saying that, the scripture is going to be very clear, probably saying it more clear than I'm going on about it right now. But I want to emphasize it that way because I think that's what people are missing, because when I've seen certain scholars and all these guys talk about it, they say there's 2 preparations and there's 2 Sabbaths in that time period of the Messiah, a double preparation and a double Sabbath. Or if it's only one preparation, then it has to be the preparation, which we call prep day, the day before the 7th-day Sabbath. But I'm saying it's none of those things. The prep day is the first day of Passover, the day you prepare the Passover. So says our Messiah. So says the law. We read about it in Exodus. What did they do? They prepared the lamb that night. They had to cook it up, make the meal, make stuff with it, make the unleavened bread, set it out, get things ready. They even did the lintel thing with the blood. That was all a part of the preparations in that day for that feast that was going to be eaten that night.
Right.
All right. Make sense?
Yes.
I hope it does. Bless up, Brother Alton. Shalom to you, Lion. One love. Again, shalom to all brothers and sisters joining us, Zion family, Auntie Emma, if you joined late, Mama Greg, Sister Andrea, of course, Brother Johnny and family. One love. Let's move through. So what I'm saying here is that when I was going to this day, this is the first day of the week. As you know, we're keeping that Passover, so you understand where we're coming from. This is the day that the preparation of the lamb and the feast. The lamb was like the sacrifice just right here. And then when the blood drained out, it was time to deal with it. The preparation of the Passover sacrifices also occurred on this day. It was a holy day and a high Sabbath. Now, when it says the Passover sacrifices, I can't wait to share and get to something that's very important on this topic that we got to understand, because people might feel that the Messiah kept a different Passover, or what he kept was like the Last Supper, and the Last Supper is not the Passover meal, and it was different and all kind of things. But it's just a bunch of confusion, and
Mm,
it's not due to people not understanding. It's how these guys have translated and even formulated it. So sometimes it's like you got to put the proper sequences in order, and then it becomes so much more clear.
mm,
So remember what I'm talking about this day here. Now, this word preparation, just to take a look in, the act of preparing or making ready, right?
mm-hmm.
It could be a preliminary act or an operation, a previous setting in order. You can do it before, remember this phrase here, I'm making ready. Okay. I'm making ready, prepare, right? It means from like before, and make ready it comes to. Even though it has the word before, it's saying that it means to parer, to make ready. So I know it's a simple word. I'm not trying to challenge anybody's intelligence here, but you'd be surprised. I had to look this up myself just to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
True. Yep.
So here's the 6 times this phrase comes in, right? And when we take a look at these things, I'm going to just quickly look at it right here. It says, follow the day of preparation. We're going to go look at the Strong's that's the Strong's definition that we saw already, that make ready definition. Remember?
Yes.
So the day of the preparation. So notice it's called the day of the preparation. The preparation, know what it says here, that is the day before the Sabbath. So I understand where people are coming from. The next one in Luke, that day was the preparation and the Sabbath drew on, right? These two things here, definitely, like I said, I get it. You would just to look at those things. The preparation is the day before the Sabbath. I mean, how much more clear are you going to go down there and try to say it's not that and it's not? How are you going to do that? you know, and the Gentile translators are wicked, and we'll try to get the best proof we can, brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's something I want to highlight. It says, and it was the preparation of the Passover. All of that, what I was talking about, in a certain sense, is really the opening and understanding here. And you're going to see how this phrase here unlocks everything else. And then we have here the Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation, and it says certain things. And we'll read them slowly after. Then they said, because of the Jews' preparation day. So again, we see these things. But this verse right here, and there was the preparation of the Passover and about the 6th hour. This is the key verse that gives us full understanding. And then the other verses will come in, and you're going to say, yeah, man. All right. Okay. So again, we're saying the preparation is right here, this first day of the week. We're not saying that the preparation is the 6th day of the week. We're going to show that it's not. When it's saying that, that's not what it means. And then the true preparation day is the preparation of the Passover this day. So says our Messiah, and so says all the actions of the apostles. So this preparation, first of all, it's known as a high day. Scripture.
John 19, verse 31. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation, or the first day of Passover, that the body should not remain upon the pole on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was an high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. Book of Sirach 33, verse 7. Why doth one day excel another, when as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun? By the knowledge of Jah they were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts. Some of them hath he made high days, and hallowed them, and some of them hath he made ordinary days.
All right. So when it comes to these high days, we know they're special because it says, because it was a preparation. And what I put in the brackets there, I'm just trying to help guide us as we teach. But this preparation here said that the body shouldn't, because that Sabbath right here, that Sabbath day was a high day. And you see me, I slanted on the Sabbath day. And I'm going to tell you why I have to address this before I get to these other verses in a second. They said that these things couldn't remain on the cross because of the Sabbath day, because it was a high Sabbath day, right? That it should not remain there. And so this is like making it seem like there was some type of law that the bodies couldn't be on the cross on a feast day or a Sabbath day or on a
Mm,
pole or anything. And that was the reason. But I just want you to park that and remember that. But again, no, this is a high day. But here's the thing in scripture: when we go to Exodus, we can see why it's called a high day. And it's like this is more of a spiritual connection and understanding.
Exodus 14, verse 8. And Jah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with an high hand.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers 33, verse 3. And they departed from Ramses in the first month, on the 15th day of the first month. On the morrow or morning after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with an high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians.
Wow, what a beautiful set of verses.
Yes.
It even gives you the date, the 15th day of the first month on the morning, the daylight period, with a high hand. I mean, and then we go back to the verse and we can see if for that Sabbath day was a high day. And when we
High
use our
day.
wisdom and we start to look and saying, hey, oh, if the 15th day is the feast of Passover, because it says the morning after Passover, it's not the day later, it's the morning. Because remember, they ate in the night,
Right, right,
ram tempting, and it was the morning that they left. Right. So when it
right.
says the morrow after, you might think it's saying tomorrow, the day later, but they came out with a taste. Everybody knows that
That's
night they
right.
think, and they were going out by the morning time. So it lets you know that this is the 15th day. And just, even again, just looking that this high Sabbath day, which is also the preparation day, because that's the day that they prepared for the Passover, kind of giving you an idea like, okay, there's a good connection here.
Yes.
Bless up again. Oh, Sister Andrea. Yes, bless up, Sister Andrea. One love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you remember I was talking about that thing about it shouldn't remain on the cross on the Sabbath day.
Yes. Deuteronomy 21, verse 22. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of Jah, that thy land be not defiled, which Jah thy El giveth thee for an inheritance.
All right, so here's the law. This is the law. Again, the law says you don't make the body hang all night upon a tree. So you bury him that day. You take him down, right?
Right.
Because if everybody leaves him at the nighttime and goes, no one's gonna come back out to bury him. So they're saying before nighttime comes, you bury the person. It says you bury him that day. So it's again, you don't if they're gonna hang him. Remember, most of the Israelites' death punishment was by stoning, but that's why it says if and he be put to death and you hang him on a tree, if he dies this way, you don't leave him up there. You hang him
Right.
when he's dead, you take him down and you bury him. Why? Because first of all, it's a curse to be hanged. That means like you deserve the death. So it's like, watch those movies and the zombie movies and they go into the jungle, or not even the zombie, the Amazons, like they have all skulls hanging up and everything like that. They're just showing you this place is cursed. You understand? Death is
That's
around this place. So Jah wants also it to be done so that you bury them that day, because he says so that the land be not defiled. So
right.
the person is a curse, but you have to bury them by the nighttime so that the curse is not there on the land and the land doesn't become defiled. Does that make sense?
That's right. And this is the law that scripture in the New Testament was referring to.
That's right. And we could even see that, Joshua, son of Nun, also followed this law.
Joshua 10, verse 26. And afterward, Joshua smote them and slew them and hanged them on 5 trees. And they were hanging upon the trees until the evening. And it came to pass at the time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded that, and they took them down off the trees and cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones in the cave's mouth, which remain until this very day.
Let me just stop here quickly again. So you see the same thing. Joshua, Moses' successor, is doing exactly what the law told. Look at
That's
that.
right.
At the time of the going down of the sun, Joshua commanded to take them down. So again, relating back to what it was talking about, that they should not remain on the cross because it was a Sabbath day. That's spurious, what you would call. It wasn't because it was a
Right.
Sabbath day. It was because of the law found in Deuteronomy 21.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I'm trying to say. And this is how these guys trick around. Again, let's quickly go to it again. See that right here? That the body should not remain upon the pole on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was a high day, right? It says the Jews, because it was their preparation day. So this is like a law they're making up,
Mhm.
but they're not making up the law. The law they're trying to follow, but they're saying it's because of the Sabbath day, and it's no. It's just you just do it so that the land doesn't become accursed. And now
That's
watch how this all ties in with our Messiah as well. Do you want to say something first?
No, this is making excellent connections to explain that verse.
All right, let's continue.
Galatians 3 verse 13. The Messiah hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, Cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree,
Mm,
that the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Joshua the Messiah, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith.
wow. You see this great connection here? Cursed is everyone hangeth on the tree. He
Mm,
was made a curse. So this is why he also had to be buried. You understand? So that
that's
the
right.
land doesn't become defiled. And that's why it says they took him near the end of the day, and by the evening time, he was put in the sepulchre. Just good wisdom to know what's going on. Again, the Greek translators somehow making it seem like it had something to do with the Sabbath when it was the Torah that they were following, because there's no law about that. This is the law about somebody being hanged on a tree, put up on a pole, and that nature.
That's right. They had to take his body down and bury him so that his body wouldn't remain all night upon a tree according to the law.
That's right. So again, first day of the week, first day of Passover, the preparation day, a high holy Sabbath, beginning at evening, going through for the first nighttime, then you have the daytime part, 24 hours. A date, by the way, no matter how anybody wants to view what how long a day is, if you want to say a day is 12 hours only, or even, kind of begins from the morning to the morning, a date always begins with the nighttime, and a date is always 24 hours. You can't have like a half day date. And that's why when it talks about the 14th at evening, and then the 15th day, and the Most High says this night is very special, and then they leave on the morning, that's all on the 15th. A date must have 24 hours, and it must begin it from the evening and go to the morning and then the evening, or evening till evening. And it's just important to know because people will mess that up.
True.
All right, so let's get some understanding from the scriptures if this day is called if this preparation day talk I'm talking about is true.
Matthew 26 verse 17. Now the first day of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Joshua, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare the Passover? And he said, Go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, The master saith, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Joshua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover.
All right, so you see right off the bat, this is their, what do they want to do?
Prepare the Passover.
Right. That's when it's to be killed. That's the night it's killed. And he says, look at, where are we going to go do it? And then he says, hey, I'm going to keep the Passover. And he pointed them, and it says they made ready. Remember that word made ready also means prepared, and
Right.
they prepared the Passover. Right.
That's right. I see the connection, right?
Mhm.
Prepare the Passover. They made ready the Passover. In other words, they prepared the Passover.
That's right. So it was already even though it was already furnished nice, they did the cooking and set up everything. And those things have to be done in a clean, upright way. So
That's
again,
right.
one good piece of witness here, letting you know two things. First is that this also says the first day of unleavened bread, and it's also letting you know that you prepare the Passover. So it's connecting
Mhm.
that the preparation of the Passover and the first day in unleavened bread, like we're saying, are one and the same festival.
That's right. That's right. It's important to understand this because they're not preparing for the Passover. They prepared the Passover that same day, that same
Ah,
night. So
that's
it's
it.
not something they're preparing for. it's talking in the present tense. They are
They are
preparing that day, that
right.
moment, that hour, however you want to look at it, but it's in the present. It's not
That's
something they're
right.
preparing for the day before.
That's right. And that's also, again, the first day of unleavened bread. So you can't say, when some people say, oh, the Passover is one day, and then you're having 7 days of an unleavened bread feast, and it's like it's 2 feasts in one combined. No, it's just one feast. First day of unleavened bread, eating the Passover.
Got it.
And this word here, prepare, that they use right here, this one here, prepare, underlined, is this, to make ready, prepare, right? Make ready, to make the necessary preparations, get everything ready. See that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the same type of idea I'm saying, using your wisdom. That preparation day is the day they're making everything ready as they're doing it. There's even sacrifices in the morning that happen on the preparation day, and those sacrifices are prepared. They're slaughtered and things are carried out. So it's the preparation. The whole 24 hours is known as the preparation day.
That's right.
Let's get some more information. So again, the apostles came to the Messiah and said, hey, on this right at the end of the 14th day, the first day of Passover, or the first day of unleavened bread, and they say, where are we going to eat the Passover? And he tells them what to do. They went to go make it ready. They prepared it in the night and everything, and then they ate it that night. And then they sung a hymn. Judas betrayed him. They bring him in the morning to Caiaphas and all them, and he sacrificed on that day. You understand? All
Yeah.
within the same 15th of Abib. And when the Messiah is sacrificed, people want to see him sacrificed at the end of the 14th because, he's supposed to be the lamb. But you have to understand two things here. One is that he had to have the Passover because he said, with desire, I have desired to eat this Passover, because he had to institute the new covenant Passover to them to do it. So he can't do that if, it doesn't work out that way, as long as it's within the 24-hour period. So we know that he still died on the Passover preparation. Remember, you're preparing the Passover. And don't you think the Messiah was preparing himself? Of course he was.
That's right.
So again, looking at the time frame, after that, the 16th begins. This is when he would have been buried, and moving on from the 16th. Let's go to Mark.
Mark 14, verse 12. And the first day of unleavened bread, when they killed the Passover, where wilt thou that we go and prepare that thou mayest eat the Passover? And he sendeth forth 2 of his disciples, and saith unto them, go ye into the city, and there shall meet with you a man bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him. And wheresoever he shall go in, say ye to the good man of the house, the master saith, where is the guest chamber, where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he will show you a large upper room furnished and prepared. There make ready for us. And his disciples went forth and came into the city, and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover.
All right. So evidence, part 2 here. The first day of unleavened bread, when they what? The Passover? Killed the
Kill the
Passover.
Passover.
You see that? So it's that first day of unleavened bread is the day they killed the Passover. That's the beginning of the 15th.
That's right.
And what did they say here? Where should we go prepare it? Right. So killing and all that. Where are we gonna prepare it? That he may what? Eat the Passover. So we know the Messiah never sinned. So we know the Messiah ate the Passover that night, because he's talking about they're going to do it that night.
That's right.
He said, I shall eat the Passover with my disciples. Again, some people say, it was a different Passover he might have ate. It says there's a room that's prepared, make ready, prepare it for us. And they prepared the Passover. They made ready the Passover. You see the whole talk of preparation again that's dealing with this one day here so far. It's important. That's why they say, where do we go prepare it? And that's why it's called the preparation day.
That's right.
All right, let's go to a witness in Luke.
Luke 22, verse 1. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew near, which is called the Passover. Luke 22, verse 7. Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed. And he sent Peter and John, saying, go and prepare us the Passover, that we may eat. And they said unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare? And he said unto them, behold, when ye are entered into the city, There shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house wherewith he entereth in. And ye shall say unto the good man of the house, The master saith unto thee, Where is the guest chamber, where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples?
All right, not being redundant, because these are in the scriptures and they're in there to give us these witnesses. Again,
Mm-hmm.
Luke 22, verse 1, the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. So don't let nobody tell you that, oh, we're going to keep the Passover, and then after that day of Passover is gone, now we're going to keep 7 days of unleavened bread. It's not that way. It says it right here many times. And then again, the day the unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed, go prepare us to eat the Passover that we may eat. Where will thou we prepare? I shall eat the Passover. All right, we got that. Let's, I think, wait. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah, I put the one there that shouldn't be there. That's all threw me off. This is verse 12.
All right. Luke 22, verse 12. And he shall show you a large upper room furnished. There make ready. And they went and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. And he said unto them, With desire I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of Jah.
All right. So again, with desire, he's desired, right? Ready the Passover. We've read these verses and the other ones. Again, they're making ready the Passover. The Passover, and showing you that Passover night is part of the preparation day, and the whole day is called the preparation day. That's what it means. It's not that you're preparing for the 7-day Sabbath. They were preparing on the Passover day. That's how the Israelite custom was according to the law. You do it on that day. You understand?
That's
You don't
right.
cook the food before, like a couple of days before, and then you bring it for the Passover. Everything on the Passover is made fresh.
That's right. That's right.
For the Passover in particular, how they did it. I'm not trying to say that's what you have to do now. I'm just talking about when it came to that lamb and everything.
That's right. So it must be understood that the first day of Passover is the preparation day.
That's right. Again, just taking a look at it. Preparation day. Not this day, but this day. So let's get a couple of corrections for what I want to share. Knowing these things, let's look at this understanding. So we have in the red the preparation of the Passover, right? Now just read in the green, which is the proper translation.
Mm-hmm. Proper translation, John 19, verse 14. And it was the day of Passover, and about the 6th hour, or
Now,
12 p.m.
yep, sorry. Now, I don't need to change it now that you know what preparation is, but here's a key verse I wanted to get to. So when it says it's preparation of the Passover, we can remember it said when that day is the Passover is the unleavened bread. I could have put there it was the day of unleavened bread if I wanted to. Not I wanted to, but we can do that now that we know what's going on. So we just know again the preparation is referring to the Passover, and so I just put in the green to make it more clear. The day of the Passover, right? The preparing of that Passover.
That's right.
Now, in John 19:31, it says it was a preparation that the bodies would not remain upon the cross because it was a high day. Now we know when it says it was the preparation. We can, Brother Javin.
Correction, John 19, verse 31. The Jews, therefore, because it was the Passover, that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was an high day.
Yeah, so I didn't want to go play with it and change the Sabbath day part there, but just again, we know that it was a preparation. It says that preparation was a Sabbath. You see that? Look at that connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying that it was a preparation day, right? And they shouldn't remain on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was a high day. So it's telling you that right there again, the preparation is that Sabbath day. Remember the verses that said Jah brought them out with a high hand on the 15th, right? Everything
Right.
and putting all these verses together, I want them to start to compound to help you to see it, because it may take a long time studying on your own. And I really wanted to design this to make it clear, so that when you go and read the scriptures on your own, you can dissect these things as well.
Right. And this is also in line when the scripture says that the first day of Passover is also a holy convocation.
That's right. So remember, there were 6 of them. So it said, there laid they Joshua, therefore, because of the Jews' preparation day. I mean, and that's simple. There's nothing there to deal with, but you can read it again, brother.
Verse 42, there laid they Joshua, therefore, because of the Jews' Passover day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand.
You know now that preparation day is the Passover day. But putting in the Passover now, it kind of starts to make that clear. You get what I'm saying when you're reading the
Yes.
scriptures, and you're not thinking, oh, preparation means this and that. Again, here, now on the next day that followed the day of preparation, that would be the 7th-day Sabbath, according to what people would be saying, right? But it's not, though.
Mhm.
But anyways,
Correction, Matthew 27, verse 62. Now the next day that followed the day of Passover, the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate.
that's exactly what happened. Remember, the Messiah was crucified on the Passover. He ate the Passover in the night. In the day that's called the preparation day. So the next day that followed after, the next day that followed the day of Passover, which is
Right.
also the day of the preparation. It's see, you can look at this day of the preparation. People might think it's the 7th-day Sabbath because of prep day.
Yeah.
You understand? And they're going to say, well, there's information that's proof. But now knowing this, again, making it clear. So as we move on, good timing, excellent timing. As we move on, there's a little bit of a troubling thing out there when it comes to when it's talking about the Jews' Passover. And just like I said earlier, if the Messiah kept the same Passover that the Jews kept. And when we're talking about the Jews, we're talking about the Jahudim, the Israelite Jews. We're not talking about what's going on today and no, of that nature. But that the Jews' Passover they kept was also the same Passover that the Messiah kept. It had to have been. But some people might say, no, he kept a more, he was keeping the Zadok proper calendar, or the proper Enoch calendar, proper, whatever calendar might be, the Maserat, King David, all of them, the Bib Barley. But he was keeping the Jews' Passover is the Passover the Messiah kept, and they kept in the scripture. And I know there's a confusion, so I want to tackle that right now as we close off. And this should be our last segment. Unless,
Right.
it goes before 9. If we get before 9, then I got a little bit about Sabbaton, but this will take us to 9. All right.
Right.
Let's go. Here's the scripture.
John 2, verse 13. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Joshua went up to Jerusalem. John 5, verse 1. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jehoshua went up to Jerusalem. John 6, verse 4. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh. John 7, verse 2. Now the Jews' feast of Tabernacles was at hand. John 11, verse 55. And the Jews' Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves.
All right. So again, to me, this is like there's nothing overwhelming in an understanding, but I think it should be easy clarification. When it's talking about the Jews' Passover, it's what they were keeping in Israel, and this is what the Messiah kept, right? I mean, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jehoshua went up to Jerusalem, he's going up there to keep the same thing. I mean, it says that he went to Jerusalem when he was 12 at the Passover.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Like, I should put that one in, but anyways, that's a big thing. So, he's keeping the same thing, and he must, because he's fulfilling the law. And they weren't, doing, these Israelite Jews didn't follow a different calendar. Whatever people say followed after that destruction of the temple, or whatever some other Sanhedrins or what the Samaritans were following, they were following the Babylonian lunar calendar. I'm not talking about that. The Israelites in Israel, in Jerusalem, they had the true almanac, and then by the time the destruction of the temple, Jah's almanac was wiped off, and One thing I do know is that the Julian calendar was around when the Messiah was on the earth. So nobody can talk about the days of the week are messed up or anything of that nature, because their Saturnalia would have been the most highest people's Sabbath, and they would have been keeping the 7-day Sabbath, but the Romans would have been celebrating Saturnalia at the time of the Sabbath. So when people talk about, oh, you're worshiping Saturn and all that stuff, it doesn't make no sense.
Mm-hmm.
They're covering just things. But again, everything about the Israelites' festivals, the Feast of Dedication belongs to the Jews, the Tabernacles, right? Again, it's, Jehoshua went up to Jerusalem, Jehoshua went up to Jerusalem. These are two different times. Now, this is why it's important to know that you have to follow that same calendar that he followed as well.
Mm-hmm. John 4, verse 22. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. Jah is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Matthew 2, verse 2, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his angel in the east, and are come to worship him. John 19, verse 3, and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him with their hands. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jehoshua the Nazarite, the King of the Jews.
All right, so I'm really just putting out here salvation of the Jews. That's the Messiah talking. He's the King of the Jews. So
That's
that
right.
Jews Passover, that Jews tabernacle, all the Jews thing belongs to him because he's the King of the Jews.
That's
See
right.
that? They ain't keeping nothing different. If they want to kind of corrupt things or whatever at that time, but the calendar that they were following at the temple was the same calendar that the Messiah and his apostles followed. It was the same Israelite calendar. The Almanack was there. It was on the scene, believe it or not. As much as people might think the true one was there, the Babylonian lunar calendar, all those other calendars, they were there too. But I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying, just thing was there, and we know it because the Messiah kept it, and he can't sin. It can't be no falsehood. Can't be doing the wrong time frames, doing the wrong festivals, and then do it. But the real calendar was no. Everything that the Jews are doing and he was doing in terms of that is the right thing. I
That's
think
right.
even Messiah even said, "Whatever they tell you to do, you do, but don't do as they do," kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Right.
like they know the things, but they're just hypocrites and stuff. So to me, this is one simple thing. I mean, I think if you just read any of these verses, you'll see that he was in Jerusalem at the Passover, and so were the Jews.
That's right.
Now, this is a problem this is where people come with a different problem here. Go ahead.
John 18, verse 28. Then led they Jehoshua from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment, and it was early. And they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Pilate then went out unto them and said, What accusation bring ye against this man? They answered and said unto him, If he were not a malefactor, we would not have delivered him up unto thee.
Okay. So when it says they, it's talking about the chief priests and the scribes and the Levites and all the guys who rushed the temple and around the temple and Pharisees and all those guys who are part of, the head of Israel. And it says they didn't go in to the judgment hall because they didn't want to be defiled because they wanted to eat the Passover. But people would say, what are you talking about? You see, right there, that's what I was talking about. The Jews are keeping a different Passover because if they're going to go eat the Passover now, then, what did the Messiah eat the night before? Because if you know the time frame of this is in the morning, right? After they caught him. So he ate the Passover, and then
Right,
everybody's supposed to eat the Passover lamb. But it's saying right here that they're not going in the morning time. They didn't want to go in, right? It's early because they wanted to eat the Passover. So it's like, who's keeping the right Passover? I thought the Messiah was keeping the Passover. And some people would say, well, that's why he kept the Last Supper. It wasn't the Passover, even though he said clearly, we read it clearly, he said, I will eat the Passover. I desire to eat this Passover. But this is the problem here. And again, I'll blame the translators a little bit, but also we have to search for these answers. I want you to take a look at something here that these priests and all of the guys, remember Caiaphas and all of them on there, these guys are part of the sacrificial system. And what you're going to find out here, they ain't going to be eating that Passover lamb. They're eating the Passover sacrifices. Let's just jump into it and let's get the proof.
all right.
First of all, when it says right here, but that they might eat the Passover. This word Passover, as it translates in the Greek, it is the Paschos. It's Pashka, right? It's Pashka of our Aramaic origin. Even remember this number. We're gonna go to it, but they translate it wrong as Easter one time. So we got the Paschal sacrifice. We got the Paschal lamb. We got the supper. So remember, I always talk about we have the sacrifice, we have the lamb, and the supper. We always make those distinctions, right?
Yes.
And they have the Paschal supper, or you can have the feast. Now, even when I say supper, it's like you can call the Passover that first meal. That's a supper. It's a Passover supper. Supper just means the time you eat. But when people start adding the Lord's Supper to it, it adds kind of some big things when it's the Passover, and the Passover meal will happen to be supper because that's what you ate, and it was just the Passover meal was the supper.
That's
However,
right.
this is what I want you to look at here. You see, when you get into this understanding, it says the Passover, the meal, the day, the festival, the day of, or the special sacrifices connected with it.
Okay.
Now, I like how it's so small because we're going to big it up. You understand what I'm saying? You know, there's special sacrifices connected with it that these priests would eat. Let's get into it. The sacrifices, first of all, you should know these things that they never just dashed these things away. They never went shopping. Their food was supplied strictly by the sacrifices.
True. Leviticus 6, verse 14. And this is the law of the meat offering. The sons of Aaron shall offer it before Jah before the altar, and the remainder thereof shall Aaron and his sons eat. With unleavened bread shall it be eaten in the holy place, in the court of the tabernacle of the congregation, they shall eat it. It shall not be baken with leaven. I have given it unto them for their portion of my offerings made by fire. It is most holy, as is the sin offering and as the trespass offering. All the males among the children of Aaron shall eat of it. It shall be a statute forever in your generations concerning the offerings of Jah made by fire. Everyone that toucheth them shall be holy.
All right. So we're right here off the bat. You see the proof. This is what these guys ate. And who didn't want to go anywhere to eat anything? It was them. You might say, well, yeah, but listen, say the Passover and stuff like that. All right. This is what we want to get into because we're going to say, well, okay, they eat the sacrifices, but I need some more information. Well, again, that word Pashka, this word here, Pashka, as you know, it's G35, 3957. It says this is the root word of the Aramaic 6453. So we're going to go there too before we move on. So this is H6453. Again, the Passover sacrifice, the animal victim, right? Even here again, nice and small, Passover offering. Not the sacrifice, but these offerings. So this is something that we got to know. Let's see what these offerings are. This word, Pascha, translates as offerings in these following verses. Go ahead, brother.
2 Chronicles 35, verse 7. And Josiah gave to the people of the flock lambs and kids, all for the Passover offerings, for all that were present, to the number of 30,000 and 3,000 bullocks. And his princes gave willingly unto the people, to the priests and to the Levites, Hilkiah and Zechariah and Jehiel, rulers of the house of Jah, gave unto the priests for the Passover offerings 2,600 small cattle and 300 oxen. Conaniah also, and Shemaiah, and Nethaneel, his brethren, and Hashbiah, and Jael, and Josabad, chief of the Levites, gave unto the Levites for the Passover offerings 5,000 small cattle.
So these are Passover offerings. And I want you to notice that these offerings are not lambs, it's oxen and it's cattle. We got some lambs there, we got some kid goats, but we can see that there's, cattle, there's oxen here. Again, small cattle. What I'm showing you is that these are the Passover offerings. Again, who's going to eat these offerings? The priests. And when are these offerings offered? Oh, we see right here, during Passover as well. So these are Passover offerings. Even you can call them sacrifices. I use the word offering because that's okay, but they use offering, but you can know what are they going to do to these oxen and cattle? They're going to sacrifice them and kill them. You understand?
That's right.
So you just have to
That's
kind of
right.
use your wisdom and know how God talks things, and certain things can be synonymous with the other, right? So these are Passover sacrifices or offerings, but they wouldn't be the Passover lamb that is offered the night before. That was for the people to do. See, that's the
Right.
difference. The people had to do the lamb for their homes and stuff like that. But the priests, in order to honor the temple and the sanctuary, they had to have special Passover offerings special to the Most High Jah. And these offerings are from him. He even says that he gave these offerings, like he said here with the priests, right? It's for the people, they shall eat of it. But let's go on some more. Bless up and shalom, Tios. Shalom.
Shalom. Numbers 28, verse 16. And in the 14th day of the first month is the Passover of Jah. And in the 15th day of this month is the feast. 7 days shall unleavened bread be eaten. In the first day shall be an holy convocation. Ye shall do no manner of servile work therein. But ye shall offer a sacrifice made by fire for a burnt offering unto Jah, 2 young bullocks, and 1 ram, and 7 lambs of the first year. They shall be unto you without blemish, and their grain offering shall be of flour mingled with oil. 3 10 deals shall ye offer for a bullock, and 2 10 deals for a ram.
All right. So simply put, 14-day first month Passover of Jah. We know it's at the evening. They didn't put it evening here. More of the times it's at the evening. And then the 15th is the feast of 7 days. All right. But notice again, you have to offer these sacrifices. But here's the thing I want to hit home, because we talk about the Passover offerings and sacrifices in Josiah's time. And now we're seeing in the law, Numbers here, Jah is commanding the priests, because not all the people are doing this. This is only for the priests. And if there's, temple and sanctuaries and stuff that way, this is what would be done. And all of these sacrifices, they're not done in the evening when the Passover lamb is done. They're done in the morning, actually. That's when the priests would be able to eat them, because they're done in the morning time. And you might say, yeah, well, whatever, Sean. Well, let's continue reading this verse, same verse, and continue and see.
Verse 21. And several tenth deal shalt thou offer for every lamb throughout the 7 lambs, and 1 goat for a sin offering to make an atonement for you. Ye shall offer these beside the burnt offering in the morning, which is for a continual burnt offering. After this manner ye shall offer daily throughout the 7 days the meat of the sacrifice made by fire of a sweet savor unto Jah. It shall be offered beside the continual burnt offering and his drink offering. And on the 7th day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work.
All right.
In
So
the
you see,
morning.
obviously, because the nighttime is for the Passover lamb, but the
Mm,
priests and the chief priests, and they're doing all other kind of things. They're dealing with these offerings, and this is when it talked about when they wanted to eat because they didn't want to defile themselves, so they can eat the Passover. Remember that word Passover showed you it meant sacrifices, and it showed you it linked to the offerings, the other special sacrifices. And I'm showing you in the law, that's what they did. This is what they had to do. It was on during the temple. The Messiah was there at the temple time. They were all eating from it, from these sacrifices, and they would do so after making them and preparing it, preparing it,
mhm,
preparing it in the morning, preparing it in the morning, because the sacrifice, remember, we learned all these things. The sacrifice is a part of the preparation. So they're going to prepare 7 lambs and bullocks and all these kind of things. That's they're not preparing, they're
mhm.
actually doing it. And that's the part. That's why that preparation day is called the preparation day, for the nighttime preparation that we proved, and also you're seeing now for the daytime preparation for the continual, or sorry, not for the continue, for the morning sacrifices of the Passover feast. Praise Jah.
Praise Jah.
It's a good connection.
That's right. See,
Now,
that's why it's so important to know the law. Otherwise, when you come across these things in the New Testament, without the knowledge of the law, you'd be
right,
pretty
brother.
much lost in your understanding
And
of
that's
what's
why when
going
we,
on.
yeah, go ahead. No, sorry, brother, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is good knowledge to share with the people, because without this knowledge of the law, which is why we see now it's so important to know the law. Our understanding of the Passover being kept in the New Testament Now it'd be very confusing to understand what's happening when we come across these problem scriptures.
That's right. And you know, when you look at this thing here, this is just a simple 24-hour day chart as we're finishing off. This is the 15th, the evening. Remember, the lamb is slaughtered there. The disciples, they went to make the Passover ready. The Messiah eats the Passover night with his brethren, and they go out at midnight. He goes to the garden and thing. The man them come and arrest him as we go here. He goes into the morning, and it's in the morning. And at the third hour, which is 9 a.m., the Messiah is crucified in the morning. And I'm just saying, in the morning, the priests also eat the Passover sacrifices. And the Messiah was, he eventually died at 3 p.m., but he was crucified at the first watch of the morning. Right during the first time during the time period of those morning sacrifices of the Passover lambs and the bullocks and everything. What I'm trying to say here is the Messiah eats the last Passover meal. He transfers the lamb ordinance over to himself. He says, "This is my body, and so on. Do this in remembrance of me." He then is captured and he's sacrificed in the morning, the same time, fulfilling all the unleavened bread sacrifices. Because if you don't know, the Messiah fulfills every single sacrifice, every pigeon, every little stroke of blood going anywhere. And definitely he's a fulfillment of the Passover to the T. And this is why when we started again this lesson, we started off with to the law and to the testimony. And like Brother Javed said, I want to emphasize, if we don't understand the Passover to the law and the way that we've been explaining it in all this series and for so long, then again, the new covenant scriptures are going to twist us up completely. And even with me and us knowing these things, it's a great challenge. So again, look at this, the great thing, Messiah fulfilling, he's still fulfilling things, all the way to the end. And not even that, the last slide is this. Not even that, the Messiah is our prince. And we see a prophecy in Ezekiel when it's referring to the prince and how he prepares himself to sacrifice for the people. And this is a great understanding too, as it relates to the Passover and the 7 days and that time period that the Messiah was not seen. Scripture.
Ezekiel 45, verse 21. In the first month, in the 14th day of the month, ye shall have the Passover, a feast of 7 days. Unleavened bread shall be eaten. And upon that day shall the prince prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering. And 7 days of the feast he shall prepare a burnt offering to Jah, 7 bullocks and 7 rams without blemish daily the 7 days, and a kid of the goats daily for a sin offering. And he shall prepare a grain offering, a grain offering of an ephah for a bullock, and an ephah for a ram, and an hin of oil for an ephah.
Okay. We will expand on this as we get into things about this resurrection, because this is showing deep things about it. But the prince, the prince preparing himself for the people. You understand? So Messiah is preparing himself as a sacrifice. All these 7 days of the feast, all these burnt offerings and everything, all of those things are fulfilled in his one sacrifice. His one sacrifice supersedes all these offerings. And the time period of when he did it and when he was seen was this 7-day period and understanding the Passover week. And again, notice that it's preparing. So hopefully you got some good understanding about the preparation day, and that the preparation day in the Holy Scriptures should be recognized on the first day of the week in regards to the feast of Passover. The preparation day is the feast of Passover. It's the first day of Passover and unleavened bread. It is called the preparation day of the Passover. It's a high and holy Sabbath. This has all occurred during this time. As always, all praise, glory, and honor to Jah, our Father, and his only begotten Son, Jehoshua the Messiah, the Nazarite, who died for our sins, that we may have eternal